love of life, if you like, and so on. But if you get too involved, then, and you start losing these people, then this is when I think you can get into trouble. If you worry too much about the loss of friends, then you're going to go yourself.
Sometimes they got away from their routine.
A group of us went out to the local pub. We had a drink. We were surrounded by normal people, living a normal life. We were living in an abnormal life, facing a life and death situation. And all these people around us almost seemed alien. And we left and went back to base.
The pilot's fear of death was shared by the women at home.
Was mich dann immer so mitgenommen hat, das waren eben die Todesfälle um uns rum und von seinen Kameraden, die ich kannte. Der ist weggeblieben und der ist weggeblieben und um die habe ich getrauert. Und ich weiß nur, Führerbilder hingen ja in jeder Wohnung und wir hatten so ein kleines, hing auch bei uns. Und da war ich so wütend, dass ich gesagt habe, also ich bin drauf und dran, das Führerbild aus dem Fenster zu werfen.
After 3 weeks of heavy fighting, Goering's dream of air supremacy was shattered. The RAF was not beaten. Partly because of the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, an integral part of the British defences. In the operations room, the WAFs helped coordinate the fighters. One WAF was Edith Heath.
We could hear the pilots on the intercom because the controller spoke to them directly and they answered. And we were listening, of course, because we knew them all. So you're anxious for them, you see.
Especially for him, Pilot Officer Dennis Whistler.
Well, of course, we were getting on like a house on the tower, and he said, would I go away for the weekend with him, which sounds dangerous then, but I knew what he meant. So we went to Cambridge, you see, found rooms in a hotel, and he popped the question, and we had a bottle of champagne, and we had a terrific 24 hours, and I had to go back to camp. And then after that, we used to meet whenever he had leave, they let me off.
Moments alone together were rare. Constant tension, fatigue and exhaustion became dangers for the pilots of both sides. Whistler confided to his diary, I have such a wonderful fiancée. When I think of her, I can get things in perspective.
This is why they didn't like fighter pilots to get engaged or married, because it took that dash away. It made them too careful. I think they were right.
One afternoon, Dennis Whistler and his squadron were getting ready for their 4th sortie of the day.
Well, I was on duty and they were fighting over the mouth of the Thames, and there was a big battle there. And somebody said, oh, there's Blue 2 going down. I thought, I know who that is. He always said if he was shot down and killed, he didn't want to have a military funeral. And of course nothing was ever found. I wished we'd been married. I thought, I don't care if it's 24 hours or 3 weeks or 5 months, I wish we'd been married.
Far from the action, Goering was sticking to his high-risk strategy. He thought that the battle was almost won, that the RAF was down to its last few fighters. Little did he know that Britain was already producing twice as many aircraft as Germany. Late in August 1940, the RAF flew some of them on nuisance raids right into the heart of the enemy. Berlin, capital of the Third Reich. The raids were strategically insignificant, but psychologically decisive.
Hermann Göring hat ja damals gesagt, wenn ein englisches Flugzeug über Berlin kommen wird, dann will er Meyer heißen. Und seitdem hieß er ja dann auch im Volksmund Meyer. Nicht? Aber das war natürlich alles noch nicht vergleichbar mit dem, was wir dann wenige Jahre später erlebt haben.
But first, it was the Londoners' turn.
Die britische Luftwaffe 2 oder 3 oder 4.000 Kilogramm Bomben wirft, dann werfen wir jetzt in eine Nacht 150, 180, 230, 300...
Hitler was sowing the hatred that would later be released over Germany.
Meine sehr gern, Sie werden bei uns Städte im großen Ausmaß angreifen. Wir werden Ihre Städte ausradieren.
Hitler now demanded from the Luftwaffe both revenge and a death blow against England. Goering promised them within 10 days. On the 7th of September, Goering went to Cap Gris-Nez, a promontory west of Calais. Here, the white cliffs of Dover were very close, and the illusion of victory even closer. From here, he wanted to direct the decisive battle.
Göring hatte die Fähigkeiten der deutschen Luftwaffe, die Möglichkeiten, die wir drüben hatten, hat er, man muss sagen, falsch eingeschätzt. Und es wurde schön geredet und das Stichwort von der zähen Katze, die nur noch 1, 2 Schläge brauchte, das wurde hochgehalten. Und diese zähe Katze, die brauchte erheblich mehr als die paar Schläge, die wir da ausführen konnten.
At 2 o'clock, over 900 German aircraft took off for Operation Loge, a huge attack on London. The British now knew where to concentrate their fighters.
The artillery scrambled. We had directions on coming in all the time, so giving the enemy's height and position where they were.
Wenn feindliche Jäger den eigenen Bomberverband angriffen, wurde grundsätzlich eng zusammengeschlossen, damit die geballte Feuerkraft gegen die Engländer wirksam wurde.
With the escorts keeping the upper hand, they managed to hold the British fighters at bay. London was now stretched out below the German bombers.
Round about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we looked out the window and we could see ever such a lot, about thousands of bombers in the sky, all making this terrible droning noise, and warnings were going. And then all of a sudden there was this wailing and whining of bombs dropping.
They set the dockyards ablaze, huge timber stores, warehouses, oil tanks. These attacks had something new. The Luftwaffe now came wave upon wave without a break. Around-the-clock bombing kept the civilian population in their bomb shelters day and night. Goering hoped that this would break the will to resist.
The noise was really killing. It was frightening, the noise. And you heard the bombs falling in sticks, sometimes 6, and you wonder, all right, so many's gone over you so far. You did close yourself down and hope like hell that last one wasn't going to hit you.
The morning after, life emerges slowly from the rubble, as if people are paralyzed.
When you come out the next morning, then you'd see the heaps of rubble. Yeah, you'd see them all scrambling through the rubble, because they used to say that there's somebody down there. We've got to get them out. There's a couple of my school friends, their houses was bombed, and they were killed, and they was brought out in the street. It was covered over with tarpaulin, just to cover them up. That all happened on a Saturday night. And Sunday morning there was another air raid. And more or less the same places were bombed again. And the covers were blown off, and they were just laying there.